So today I wanted to make a video about an unreleased Kendrick Lamar song that I have discovered. It's called Pray. And funny enough, the song popped up in my Twitter feed because of a Jujutsu Kaisen meme. And when I heard the pianos from the song, I put the song into Shazam and it found it in like 2 seconds, which is funny to me because the fact that Shazam was able to find an unreleased Kendrick Lamar song scares me for what AI can do in the future. The first time I listened to the song, I was just listening to the piano and the instrumental. I didn't really care for the lyrics or anything like that. But the second and third time I listened to this song, I actually went through with it with genius lyrics, and it's a really introspective song. And so the song's premise is that Kendrick Lamar raps from 3 perspectives. He raps from the perspective of Michael Jackson, then Martin Luther King Jr., and then himself. And he explores the idea of how prominent figures within Black history have faced accusations, and due to their personal failings in their life, that has caused people to question their legacies. So specifically with Michael Jackson, he is undoubtedly one of the greatest, if not the greatest pop star of all time. His music is still widely loved today, but he has faced numerous accusations of child X abuse. After looking it up, I see that there are no public definitive proofs of these convictions. People often point to the examples of him like sleeping in children's beds and just touching them inappropriately. I think that this behavior is weird and it is creepy. However, to me it always came off as he was someone who was robbed of his childhood, was pretty much forced to be a pop star and never really lived out his childhood, and he was just trying to live vicariously through children around him to try to recapture that childhood innocence that he never had. I think that he probably should have gone to therapy instead of engaging in those behaviors, but I don't know what he went through. I just think that it was someone who was given a great life, but maybe not the life that they wanted. And we move on to Martin Luther King Jr., which in this section, it brings up how people have brought up that he has been unfaithful to his wife and how that questions his legacy. Now, while I do not think infidelity is okay, I personally have always had the perspective of when you become a rich and famous figure, there becomes an immense pressure and lack of privacy that comes at that level of fame. It takes a very insane level of discipline that I just personally don't believe most humans have. To literally be at a stage where people know you, look up to you, and the power dynamic where I can imagine women were literally throwing themselves at him, I think that it just comes down to discipline. And I just don't think people have that discipline. Not that that means that cheating is okay and that's an excuse, but I just think that it's a mistake that most people would probably commit. And ultimately, I don't think that this has any effect on his impact of the civil rights movement or the path that he has paved for Black people today. He was a flawed person, but he still has paved a path for rights that I myself am luxury to this day. And so finally the song moves on to Kendrick, where he shifts the song to his own perspective, drawing parallels in his own life of how on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, he himself admitted that he had been unfaithful to his wife and that he has made mistakes and done things he's not proud of. And he questions whether his own mistakes will cause people to doubt his legacy. It's an interesting introspection to have. And I think 2 of my favorite quotes from this section are, "Talent doesn't choose morality," and "The world would be a rock without voices of art." I think those statements speak for themselves. And so now I want to talk about my perspective. Now, I agree with Kendrick mostly. I think that it is a very weird game to hold artists to these perfectionist purity tests. Artists are human beings at the end of the day, and human beings are flawed. We are stupid. We do things that we don't like to do. We do the opposite of things we want to do. And often people in positions of wealth and fame, they are more likely to have these mistakes happen because they have been given power and influence that a lot of people just are not built to have. When people say separate the art from the artist, I think that it's very nuanced. I don't think that it's a black and white thing. I'm going to speak from my perspective. Where I personally struggle to separate the art from the artist is when the artist's actions directly contradict the messaging in their music. So for example, Chris Brown. It's really hard for me to listen to a song about him wanting to love a woman, satisfy her, treat her like she's a queen, when he has a history of domestic violence. It just de-immerses me from the songs that he makes, and so I just personally have not been able to enjoy his music the same. Another person, Kanye West, one of the most influential rap and I think music as a whole figures of all time. But his recent anti-Semitic and hateful messaging that he's been on, to me is a major asterisk on his legacy because, well, one, he has been putting in the anti-Semitic messaging into his music. Me personally, I can go back and listen to a song or listen to an album like Donda and appreciate that for the art of him dedicating an album to someone he has held closely to his heart and unfortunately died prematurely and affect him. I can't listen to any of his new stuff because it sounds terrible and the messaging in it is terrible. I think the one thing that I disagree with on this song is that with Michael Jackson, I don't care who the artist is. My favorite artist right now is Denzel Curry. If it comes out that Denzel Curry is touching kids or stuff, I will not listen to him. I can't do it. Me personally, I can't do it. That is a permanent mark on their legacy, and that is something that I find to be disgusting, and that is a line personally that I can never cross. What to me makes Kendrick Lamar relatable is that he doesn't make excuses. He actually admits that he's a flawed human being in his music, and he actually talks about the introspection that he is doing and trying to move in a better direction. That's a message that I can get behind. If Kendrick Lamar, if something were to happen to him where he were to retire or whatever, I would never question the legacy that he has had on music because he's been so influential in pushing a message of togetherness and trying to bring Black people as a whole together and trying to educate our people on what is happening to us, even though we might be too busy dancing to his songs to really realizing the messaging. I think that Pray is a beautiful song that challenges how we view heroes and ourselves. I think that you can listen to whoever you have a connection with, and I will never judge someone for the nostalgia or emotions that the music brings up. Who am I to tell someone how they should process their emotions? However, I think it's a problem when fans start making excuses for very, very harmful behavior. We should never normalize harmful behavior. That's pretty much all the thoughts I have. I'll link the song in the description, but yeah, I think that this was a really good song. It made me think, which is what art should do.